Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we're making a quillo. So this is a quilt pillow, but I'm doing it for a reason on purpose, okay? So my granddaughters, I think I told y'all in the last video, because we made those pillows for them, that I was doing their room up for them to come and visit and have a room when they do come visit, and we've done that. And I'm using kind of a daybed style in there, and I wanted a lot of pillows. So I started by making those other two. Well, then I was on YouTube the other night, and somehow, thank you YouTube for doing this, I got fed a video for a quillo. Now, I knew these existed, but like, did I ever pay attention to them? Not really. I never thought about them. But while the girls were here last week, their blankets kind of became a problem. And here's what I mean. Blankets can easily make a bed or a room look messy, and kids struggle with blankets, right? They struggle with getting them smooth or whatever. And if that bothers you and it messes with your eye when you want the room clean, here's a solution. Make quillos. So this is a fleece blanket that Vince and I bought the girls. We got them each one of these little blankets to go on their bed, plus a bedspread. And the blanket was just for extra. But this is what they loved more than anything, was this little fleece blanket. So I decided to turn it into this quillo so that when we're done with the blanket, we can stuff it into its own case that is attached to it, and we won't have to make up a bed. We'll just put this up there, and then they just pull it out at night. And it is so forgiving. Wait till you see how you stuff it inside. So forgiving. It's also forgiving in how we're going to make it. Okay, so let me show you. This is the fleece. This is literally Addie or Emmy's fleece from their room. This guy measures 54 by 69. This is what I did, okay? I watched a lot of videos, and there was a lot of measuring and a lot of taping and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just not about that. I am not good when I have to measure something. So I thought to myself, this is a squishy fleece blanket. Surely we can just put a pillowcase on here and stuff the blanket into it, and as long as there's enough room for it, we'll be fine. And that's what I did here. So don't expect rocket science here, okay? All right, this is the shorter end of my blanket. So if my blanket is 69 by 54, this is the 54-inch part at the top, okay? I'm gonna find the center of that. So I'm just folding it in half and finding my center, and I'm gonna mark it. I'm just gonna put this little clip up here. No big deal. Now I know where the middle is. And I'm really only doing that for camera purposes, because when I'm not trying to stay under this viewfinder for you guys, I just kind of lay this out on the whole table and just kind of eyeball the center. And that's just who I am. If you don't know me from my paper crafting channel, eyeballing is my favorite thing to do. All right, I'm gonna get this where you can just see the clip at the top. Perfect. Now here's what I did. I cut this adorable fabric. You saw the first one. The first one was that little Parisian fabric, and look at this piece. Love this piece. This piece is 14.5 by 16.5, and I wish I could tell you I had some big scientific method for doing it, but here's kind of what I did. I took that fleece blanket, I folded it into thirds, and then I folded up under itself, and it roughly came out to this size. I was like, okay, this is pretty good, right? So I think you could go bigger, you could go slightly smaller, and you'd be fine. Just take your fleece blanket, fold it into thirds, fold it into the size you want your pillow to be on the bed, and then measure that. Then add seam allowance. So when I measured it, it was like 14 by 16, and I only added a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And the reason I did that is because I don't want it super loose. I was noticing with a lot of the quillos online, they were super loose, and I wanted this to kind of feel puffy, right? Or to feel full. So you can see here, I got a pretty full result. You can add all the seam allowance you want. Here's what you do. Make one of these, guys. Just make one. And the reason you want to try it is because what a cute Christmas gift, right? Okay, for this to have the Minky backer, when we put it on, we need to back it in Minky. So here's my Minky, okay? So what I'll do, don't worry about the fleece. I'm just leaving it here for now. We're not worried. We're not even looking at that right now. What I'll do is this guy, when it's sewn together, will be like this. This is how it will live on the fleece. The Minky will be out and our cotton will be inside, okay? So to make that happen, we're just gonna sew like a big, turnaround pillowcase kind of thing. So right side up, right side down with your Minky. Now, Minky shifts. If you don't know much about Minky, it will shift all over the place. So what you want, it will just walk. You will be sewing and you'll get down here and it'll be 1/2 inch off of where you started. So you do want to take a minute to pin this down, okay? So I'm going to pin, not to the fleece. Remember, the fleece is just laying here because I don't want to reset. I don't want to do it again. I want to move it around again. So I'm not pinning to the fleece. I'm just pinning these two pieces to each other. okay? So my little outdoor scene and the Minky is getting pinned together, and I'm gonna pin it all the way down. If you're looking for perfection in a project, this is not it. This Minky is going to shift and move and be puffy, but the beautiful thing about it is when your recipient turns this guy around, it's gonna be Minky to fleece. Now, I will also tell you this, you could totally do this with fleece. This doesn't have to be Minky. You could just get fleece and do the same thing. I even saw people online actually making their fleece blankets, just buying fleece by the yard, turning it under like 1/2 inch to 1 inch, serging it, seaming it down, and doing it themselves. So you can do that. If you buy a super big fleece blanket, you could cut off a portion to do this with. You'll have to finish off whatever you left behind, you know, whatever seam you left behind, but you could use the actual fleece itself to do this. I just think this is cute. Okay, so you see what we've got. We have pinned this together. That's all we've done. Again, not to the fleece. I'm just leaving it there. All right, what we want to do here is we want to sew this guy all the way around, leaving a gap to turn it around, okay? So I'm going to leave my gap at the bottom. You could leave it wherever you wanted to, really. Here's what you want to think about, okay? When I sew this down to my blanket, it gets sewn up the left, across the top, and down the bottom, and this piece stays open because this is where our blanket flap goes into. So you might want to do your opening up top. Let's do our opening up top because I did it at the bottom on the last one and I can show you the difference. All right, so then what I'm going to do so that I don't forget is put myself a couple of pins. Matter of fact, I'll move this one, pin it here, pin it here. So when I go to the sewing machine, make sure you can see what I'm fixing to do. I will start here, do a back stitch, stitch all the way around, come here, do a back stitch, and this is where I'll turn this guy around. So let me go sew this. We'll be right back together. Okay, remember I told you that Minky walks. Look at it. See this over here? You guys that use Minky, give us all the tips in the comment. I don't know anything about Minky except that I've used it. Let's see, I used it on the baby blanket. I've used it here. It just walks. That's what I call it. So I'm just going to trim this off all the way down the side. Again, please ignore the fleece blanket underneath. It's just laying there. We're not using it yet. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the corners here and I'm going to miter them. I don't need all that bulk. It's not a big deal. This is very soft and very forgiving. But I'm just going to get that bulk out of the way. Now then, from the top, we're going to turn this guy around. Turn it inside out. You guys are probably going to ask me about this fabric. I don't know any details about it. I will try to find it. I'm learning about how to do that for you guys. I know how to do it on my paper channel because I just open a paper pack and all the name and everything is on there for me. But for this, it's new, so I'll try to figure it out. I bought it from Sew Yeah. I know that. I got it at a sale they had. Okay, remember this guy? My turning tool? It's not a turning tool. My corner poker outer tool. That's what we're doing here, so we're going to get our corners all pointy. Our opening is here at the top on this one. Do you see this? And I left myself about 1/2 inch to turn it under because that's what I did as my seam allowance. And we didn't talk about that, but the reason I did 1/2 inch instead of 1/4 inch on this guy is because this is Minky and it can, I think it can unravel. I'm not 100% sure. I know that it sheds a lot when I'm working with it. So I just wanted to give myself plenty of space so I knew I could catch plenty of the Minky even just in turning of this little case right here. So I did a 1/2 inch, which means I can turn this under 1/2 inch as well. Now I'm gonna go to my iron and I'm gonna iron this down and then I will go and do a stitch across the top, closing this up. I'm not stitching all the way around because that's gonna come when we stitch it down to the fleece. So this is where I stitch closed the top, but then I had a realization because I'm changing the way I'm putting this one down, or because I'm changing the way I closed it, if I didn't top stitch, this bottom would be loose and I wanted it to be stitched down. So I just ran around and top stitched. These sides aren't gonna matter at all. All this is gonna get tucked in, but I did want that bottom finished. So I think in the next one that I do, I'll do my closure at the bottom just so I can do one stitch across and be done with it. All right, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find the middle of this guy just by folding it in half, do a little pinch. That should tell me roughly where it is. And then I'm gonna put it to the pin. Now, you're gonna sew this down so that the Minky is out. And the reason for that is whenever it's not a pillowcase, we want this to be soft to the touch, right? Now, when you sew it down, you're gonna leave the opening down here. And the way you can remember that is where the most fleece is where the opening needs to go, because you're gonna put all your fleece into that opening. So here's what I mean. I've sewn this one down, but I sewed it to the top of my blanket, okay? So that becomes the case and all my fleece gets tucked in the bottom. All right, hope I didn't over confuse you. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pin this in place, because guess what? Fleece also walks. Not as bad, especially since the Minky is now attached to the cotton fabric. It stays, so that kind of keeps that out of the mix, but you do want to pin this down before you sew it. And literally, we're almost done. We're going to pin this around, we're going to pin this, sew around 3 sides. One thing I want to caution you or encourage you to do is to back stitch really well at the bottom. And I may have to move, let me move the camera. Okay, now you can see the bottom. Make sure you back stitch really well here. Go around, up, down, and back stitch really well here. And then we'll fold this guy up. Okay, our pocket is sewn on. Our little seam is there as well. So now we can turn this guy around. And remember what I did before. And again, it's so hard on this table. I'd take you to the bedroom, but I'm filming before I go to work. And so we're just gonna do this way. So you can see that this is stitched on, and what we're gonna do is just fold this over, letting that pillowcase be our starting point. So I'm just lining this up. It's not perfect. You're not gonna see it. It's gonna be inside the blanket. Honestly, I think you could just wad this in there, which is kind of what I was hoping, because I don't want my grandkids to not want to use it because they have to fold it up. Does that make sense? Like if something has to be perfectly folded, sometimes grandkids are, or even kids, or even adults are like, nah, I ain't messing with that. All right, so I'm gonna get this folded up and flipped up, and then we'll turn it around together. So I just kind of folded that, just kind of wadded it up. I'm gonna flip this over, and this is where we're gonna turn it inside out. So grabbing the fleece, grabbing my pillowcase, and flipping. And now it's a mess, but now we just go in there and flatten it out. Okay, so let's say we leave it like this, and let's say the grandkids do too. When they stand this up on the bed, it's still neater than a wadded up fleece on the floor, right? And I'm kind of sounded like I'm a stickler for their room being neat. I am not. When they are here, we just let it be messy, and when they leave, I clean it, and then when they come back, they mess it up, and I clean it again. But this will be neat for me to be able to have all of the pillows and the blankets on the bed without having to lay them out and make them up. I love this. I think this is a quick, easy project. I can see these as gifts. A lot of people in my life might be getting these this year because this is fun. The other thing I was thinking would be super fun is to do a quilt square on top. Imagine you wanted to practice some quilt squares, or maybe you have some one-offs that you've made before. What a great place to put them. To kind of just put a quilt square here, add a cute little fleece blanket, and you are ready to go. Look, it's not even neat. I'm telling you, I just wadded it in there. But on the bed, it'll look super cute. All right, I hope you enjoyed that one. Sometimes I'm gonna bring you things like this where I'm just playing and I don't really have a pattern. If you need a pattern, a specific pattern, I can try to get numbers and all that kind of stuff for you, but I just didn't on this one, and I thought I'd bring it to you so you can see that you also can just play like this. I do want to do their blankets the same way, so I'll film that process, and that one may have to have measurements because it's bigger. They're twin size blankets that I purchased, and so I'll do that video too. Tell me in the comments below, do you have a favorite pattern for a quillo? Like, do you know exactly how to do it? Do you have a measurement that you go by or something like that? Let me know. If you make one of these, I love to see the projects that you guys are making, especially if I'm able to inspire you to try something. Come to our Facebook group, which is called Maymay Made It, and share with us your projects. It's super fun over there. I also love to see what you guys are just working on. So head to that Facebook group, which is linked below. I'd love to see it. All right, guys, thanks so much for being here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Give me a big thumbs up, and until next time, bye now.